President Trump now goes on the offensive. Good morning, Kuhner country. Okay, my friends, the gloves are finally now coming off. President Trump yesterday in a huge rally in North Carolina, like a laser, he was focused on inflation, on the economy, on the border, and he took it right to Kamala Harris. And many were calling it more of a serious, almost an intellectual speech, very policy heavy, very substance heavy. He wasn't messing around. And my friends, the reason why Trump now feels he's got to really open up the big guns on Kamala Harris is because you have a slew of polls now showing that the race is neck and neck. Fox News came out with a poll, Trump up 1. Other polls, however, show Kamala leading by 1 or 2 points. It is now, according to the polls, a nail biter. And privately now, some within the Trump inner circle are worried that the president has not tagged Kamala enough, that he's been focused too much on Biden, too much on other side issues, and that he really needs now to tattoo Kamala when it comes to her radical record, what she and Biden did, and what her policies will do to the country. God forbid should she win in November. And so last night, Trump rolled out the heavy artillery, and he laid out now a vision and a sharp contrast between himself and Kamala Harris. And the backdrop behind all of this is tomorrow, Kamala is finally going to unveil her economic plan to fight inflation. And according now to a big article in Axios leaked by Kamala's advisors, they are now going to try, their words, to completely redefine chameleon Kamala. They want to break from the Biden record. They want to break from his unpopular policies, especially on the economy and on inflation. And so tomorrow, she is going to give a speech, I kid you not, going on about corporate price gouging. The reason why prices have gone up is not because of her policies and Biden's policies. No. They're going to blame the corporations. They're going to blame big business. They're going to play the class warfare, class envy card and hope that they can bamboozle the American people into believing that all of this record inflation of the last 3.5 years had nothing to do with both Biden and Kamala. But they got a problem. Listen now to Joe Biden. This was Joey yesterday after the new consumer report and the Bureau of Labor Statistics came out saying that inflation went up 2.9%. The first time it has been under 3% since March 2021. And to me, 2.9% is still very high, but let that go. They're taking a victory lap. Roll cut 1, Mike.
Has the U.S. beat inflation, Mr. President?
Yes. I told you we're going to have a soft landing. We're going to have a soft landing. My policies are working. Start writing that way, okay?
Okay, so he's telling journalists, you got to start writing how I've conquered and defeated inflation. So he's beaten inflation. Well, this begs the question. If Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have beaten inflation, if this is all over, then why is she putting together a major speech where she's going to talk about how serious inflation is and how we have to dramatically lower the prices of gas, housing, healthcare, food? So did you beat it or did you not beat it? It's obvious. They're lying. They didn't beat it. And they didn't beat it because they caused it. And this is what Trump focused on yesterday. And whatever you're doing now, please stop. I'm telling you, you need to stop and hear this. President Trump has the winning message. What he unveiled yesterday in North Carolina is without question now, if he simply repeats this speech turns it into a stump speech, repeats it over and over and over again, he will win on November 5th. It is an unbeatable, invincible message. President Trump has now come out and said that when he wins in November, within a year to 18 months, he will slash energy prices in half. In half. Gas will be $2 a gallon again. Utility energy bills. I don't know about you. My energy bills are strangling me. They're choking me. I can't believe how much I have to pay every single month in electricity and utility bills. Trump says he is now going to wage all-out war against inflation and that he is going to drive down the cost of energy and utility bills for all working middle-class people 50 to 70%. And he said, this is my vow. I never make a promise and not fulfill it. Within a year to 18 months, America will be affordable again. I will restore our standard of living, and it starts by drilling here at home, unleashing domestic and oil production, having cheap gas. Cheap gas will lower prices across the board. And then he says on day one, he will issue an executive order mandating all cabinet secretaries, the head of every single agency, to drive down the cost of inflation, to drive down the cost of living across the board. In other words, we're going to have a real war on inflation, and we're going to win it to a year to 18 months. And now listen to the president, because he's finally doing something I wanted him to do for a long time. He compared Kamala's record to his record, the Harris-Biden years to the Trump years when he was president. Listen now to Trump. Roll cut to Mike.
Does anyone here feel richer under Kamala Harris than Crooked Joe than you were during the Trump administration? Is anything less expensive under Kamala Harris and Crooked Joe? I mean, we had inflation that I don't believe we've ever had inflation like that. You can go back a long way. Are you better off now with Harris and Biden than you were with a person named President Donald J. Trump? Do you know him? He's a nice gentleman. Nice gentleman.
I mean, that's the question. Just repeat that question over and over and over again. In other words, don't let her get away with remaking herself. Don't let her get away with this ridiculous rebranding that they're going to try to do. In fact, they've admitted this in the Axios report. You got to read it, by Mike Allen. All these Kamala advisors are saying, no, this is all a Hollywood production. These are what they call Hollywood Democrats. No. We have to pretend that the last 4 years never happened. We have to try to wipe away all of the policy positions that Kamala has taken. We have to create a brand new person, a brand new candidate, all style, no substance, to the American people, and we've got 80 days to do it. Don't let her get away with it. And ask the obvious question. Are you better off now, or were you better off under Trump? Are you better off under Harris and Biden in every single way, or were you better off under Trump? Gas, food, groceries, utility bills, rent, housing, crime, quality of life. I could go across the board. Okay, forget the border and massive unlimited illegal immigration. Forget what's happening in Ukraine and Russia and Israel and with Hamas and now potentially a war with Iran. Forget the fact that the whole world is on fire. Just in your own personal life. Were you better off under Trump, or were you better off under Kamala and Biden? Now, if he keeps making that argument over and over and over again, she can't win. There is no rebuttal because the truth is the truth is the truth. Everything was much cheaper under Trump. The economy was infinitely better under Trump. Our quality of life was through the roof, infinitely superior under Trump. So if he continues now to focus on inflation, focus on the economy, focus on the quality of life, focus on jobs, focus on growth, he's going to win this election. And I'm telling you, him coming out and saying, I am going to slash energy, I'm going to cut energy prices in half, I'm going to lower inflation down to, in fact, I'm going to decrease prices for consumers. You are going to see now cuts in your utility bills, in your energy bills, in your electricity bills. It is going to lower costs for everything. This argument is the argument and the path to the White House. My question to you, who do you trust more on the economy? Trump or Commie Kamala? 619 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer, cleaning up the liberal bull. Okay, my friends, this is an amazing text that text line, by the way, is already on fire. You can text us 70470, 70470. You can obviously call into the show. We still have a couple lines open, 617-266-6868. So if you want to hop on, now is the time to do it. This is from 781. Jeff, it's amazing how the Democrats and the media are selling Kamala like she's a product. She doesn't have to politically campaign because she's becoming an advertising campaign. All sizzle, no steak. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And that's almost word for word. That was what was reported in the Axios piece. Again, I want to go back to this just for a second. There is a huge article in Axios by Mike Allen, and I forget the other a reporter's name, but it came straight from Kamala's people. So these are all of Kamala's top advisors. And they're admitting what this texter just pointed out, that this is a slick Hollywood advertising campaign. Their words, not mine. And they say the fact that there's less than 90 days is to their advantage because they say Kamala can avoid policy. It can be all style, no substance. And they say, so what we're going to do is we're going to have her flip-flop on all of these issues, reverse herself on fracking, which she used to say she wanted to ban, on Medicare for all. She wanted to eliminate private health insurance for over 150 million Americans. She wanted open borders. Now she says she's going to guard the border herself. I mean, she's flip-flopping on every position practically that she's taken. And she's going to try to distance herself from the Biden regime. All the while, and this is the phrase they keep using now, it was with the New York Times, and now it's the whole media is using it. The vibe election. Good vibes. It's joy. It's fun. It's happiness. It's party, party, party. Party time. Yeah, she's cool. She's hip. Good vibes. We feel good about her. Now, we're going to see the real her after she's elected. But until then, hey, enjoy the product. Enjoy this new Kamala, cool Kamala. That's all style, no substance. Or as the texter put it, all sizzle, no steak. It's content free. It's going to be very lowbrow. In fact, as I said, tomorrow, her big speech on inflation, she's going to go after corporations for price gouging. In other words, the reason why you're paying so much for bacon, blame Oscar Mayer. The reason why you're paying so much for peanut butter, blame Jiffy. or who, in other words, blame the businesses that have raised the prices. Those evil corporations, they're the ones behind it. Not us. Not our policies. No. And they believe that they can snooker and bamboozle the American people into believing in this new moderate, centrist Kamala Harris. Wipe away, memory hole, wipe out her 4 years as vice president, her years in the Senate, her years as attorney general, her years as district attorney, all of her radical leftist policies, positions, and her record. Pretend like it never existed and turn this almost into like a Disney film. I'm a woman of color, a minority, and I'm going to become now and shatter all glass ceilings. It's like Cinderella. And apparently now, this is to me the richest of all. They're going to try to portray her as this young girl with humble roots from California who came from a family with a working single mom. Really, like, again, a Hollywood movie. And she had all these trials and tribulations, and look at, we had so little, and my immigrant mother, and we struggled, and how we survived, I don't know. But here I am, I'm Kamala, and I'm going to represent you, the little person in the White House. When in reality, as I said, her mother was a leading research scientist for breast cancer. Her father was an economics professor in California. She came from a very privileged background. She went to some of the best schools, some of the most elite private schools. They lived for years up in Montreal. As I said, Westmount. Look it up. Don't take my word for it. Richest zip code, not just in the province of Quebec, the richest zip code in the entire country. This woman, you want to talk about privilege. Her mother had a doctorate. J.D. Vance's mother was an addict. But no, he's the privileged white guy. She's now the representative of the oppressed and the downtrodden. So they're going to try now to completely rebrand and remake her. It's going to be a Hollywood-style production. And they're banking on the sheer stupidity and the lack of memory of most Americans. They're trying to pass her off now as a fresh face. Like this woman just fell out of the sky. Suddenly, she hasn't been vice president. Suddenly, everything that happened under Biden she had nothing to do with. She was sitting on the couch the whole time. She wasn't involved. She never was senator from California. She never was attorney general. She never was a district attorney. No, she never ran for president in 2020. Everything she said, everything she's done, wipe it clean, a la 1984. And drop it right down that black hole. And then you create something completely new. And see if you can sell this product, and it's a product, to the American people. That people are actually buying this is, to me, mind-boggling. Trump is now going to take her to task. He's exposing her. He did it last night, and he's going to continue to do it. 6:32 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, I want to play the cut again because Trump delivered an absolute masterclass yesterday. It was one of his best speeches of the entire campaign. He is laser focused now, bread and butter issues, inflation, the economy, cost of living, standard of living, the border, crime. I mean, it was no nonsense. It was all business yesterday. And he says he's going to remain like this now all the way until November 5th. He's going to take this message of hope, of a contrast between his 4 years, Kamala and Biden's 4 years, and his vision for the future all the way through every single battleground state. So I want to play the cut again, because to me, this is what the election is essentially going to come down to. Were you better off under Trump, or were you better off now under the Biden-Harris regime? Listen to Trump lay out the contrast. Roll cut to Mike.
Does anyone here feel richer under Kamala Harris than Crooked Joe, than you were during the Trump administration? Is anything less expensive under Kamala Harris and Crooked Joe? I mean, we had inflation that I don't believe we've ever had inflation like that. You can go back a long way. Are you better off now with Harris and Biden than you were with a person named President Donald J. Trump? Do you know him? He's a nice gentleman.
Okay, so let me ask all of you, and I think this will really generate, hopefully, a really good conversation with you, the great audience of Kuhner Country. Was your personal economy better? In other words, your quality of life, standard of living, was it better 4 years ago or now? When was your quality, your personal economy, your personal quality, standard of living, quality of life, when was it better? A, now, B, 4 years ago. I want to hear from you. You can vote on our webpage, wrko.com/Kuhner, wrko.com/Kuhner, Kuhn as in National ER. As always, you can vote on X. My handle there, at the Kuhner Report, all one word, Kuhn as in National ER. And of course, the Kuhner Country poll question of the day is sponsored by Mario's. Mario's quality roofing, siding, and windows. Very quickly, I'll just tell you, on my side. Under Trump, meaning 4 years ago, it cost me $38 to tank up my car. $38. Full. Absolutely full. Now, under Biden, I'm lucky if I can fill her up on $80. Lucky. Often it's $90 or $100 to tank up my car. Minimum $80. Okay, because gas goes up and down a little bit. Sometimes it's a little lower than $4, sometimes a little higher than $4 a gallon. But essentially, gas for me has doubled. Now, I drive into Boston all the time. I live out, in almost on the border with Rhode Island. So I'm tanking up pretty often. It's killing me. But even worse, gas is bad. Don't get me wrong. But even worse, groceries. Now, I can tell you definitively, because I remember 4 years ago, I could go to the grocery store, $200, and I had a full cart. I mean, a full cart. Fruits, vegetables, meats, chicken, bread, milk, peanut butter, muffins, you name it, okay? You name it. Now, if I want to fill up my cart, $350. Now, that adds up. Gas and groceries alone, I can feel it. I go to the same place. I'm not going any place different. I'm not going out in a Whole Foods or Trader Joe's. Nope. I either go to Shaw's. I'd love to go to Market Basket, but we don't have one near our area. So I go to Shaw's. I go to Stop and Shop. I like the meats at Big Y. So sometimes I'll go to Big Y because I think the quality of their meats are a little better. But overall, I'm at Stop and Shop or Shaw's. It's an ordinary grocery store. Nothing special. Food is more expensive. Groceries are much more expensive. Gas is much more expensive. Eating out. Now, you don't have to eat out. No one's put a gun to your head, but hey, come on. I mean, this is America. This is North America. I don't think eating out once or twice a week is, a crime. You go to McDonald's, I'm telling you, family of four, You're lucky if you walk out of there spending less than $70. You go pick up a couple of pizzas and a salad at your local pizzeria. You're looking at $75. Never mind an actual proper sit-down meal. Proper sit-down meal, family of four, $120, $130, easy, easy. Mortgage, rent, interest rates have gone up dramatically under Biden. So if you're a homeowner, you're paying a lot more now for your mortgage. Rents have exploded under Biden and Harris. You are paying, I'm talking at least $700, $800, $900 more a month in rent on average in the greater Boston area under this regime than you did 4 years ago. And then, I don't know about you, but this is to me the hammer of all hammers. Utility, electricity, energy bills. Holy mackerel. Electric grid. I don't know what the hell. The energy bills that I get every single month. It's like a punch in the face. I can't believe how expensive my energy bills are month after month after month. $1,000, $1,500, $2,000. And I'm like, what's, I mean, I've insulated my windows. I get windows from Window Nation. I'm being honest with you. They do work. They have brought my energy costs down, but still, it's still expensive. And it was much cheaper under Trump. Minimum 50% cheaper. Half. I'm telling you, it was half. It was $750. If I'm paying $1,500, it was $750. If I'm paying $2,000, it was $1,000 under Trump. Now, you add this up. Okay, what I'm just going by my budget. Now, I'm just giving you the top five. There's insurance, there's all kinds of other things. But I'm just going to stick it to the basics. They've cost me minimum an extra $20,000 a year in my standard of living. Easy. In higher electricity and energy bills, in higher mortgages, in higher gas, in higher groceries, in how much more it costs to eat out, in just basic everyday living. It's costing me at least $1,500 to $2,000 more a month now compared to 4 years ago. And I'm going to be brutally honest with all of you. I do okay. I'm serious. And my wife works. We have two incomes. And I often will sit down and talk to Grace. We're at a dinner or whatever. And I'll say, I don't know how people do it. I really don't. And I'll tell you how most people now have survived under the Biden-Harris regime. Credit card debt. That's how they do it. Latest figures came out. Over $1 trillion now in personal credit card debt Americans have now in the United States. The highest ever. So this is how we're going to be now. We're going to live on credit with the 20% interest payments. Month after month after month after month. So to me, if Trump makes the argument, are you better off now or were you better off 4 years ago? Are you better off under Biden and Harris? And your everyday, forget the world, forget the border, just let all that go for a second. Just in your own home. Your personal finances, your personal economy, your standard of living. How do you live now compared to how do you live 4 years ago? It's a no-brainer. It's like saying the sky is blue. And what Trump said last night, within a year to 18 months, I will bring the standard of living back. I'm going to cut gas in half, energy utility bills in half. Your grocery bills are going to come down. In other words, I'm going to restore the American dream. You run on that platform, how the hell can you lose? 650 on the great WRKO. Trump now goes on the offensive. Really lays into Kamala Harris, but in particular now, focuses on the key issues: inflation, the economy, price of food, groceries, gas, the border. It was a policy speech last night in North Carolina, and he drew a very sharp contrast between his pro-growth, low-inflation policies and, of course, the disaster that has been the Biden-Harris regime. I want to read just one message, and then I want to go right to the phone lines, because I think it sums up literally what tens of millions of Americans have been living under during the last 3.5 years. And it's from Mark on Messenger. Well, Jeff, I can tell you this. When Trump was president for 4 years, I was never negative in my account. But the last 4 years, I'm negative in my bank account just about every other week. I can't stand worrying about if I'm going to have enough money for the basic things I need. So with that being said, Jeff, yes, I was much better off under Donald Trump 4 years ago. I hear you, brother. I hear you. Greg in Worcester. Thanks for holding, Greg, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff. How are you today?
Good. How are you, Greg?
Telling you, it's under Trump, I was doing so much better, and I was actually making less money, which is the weird thing to me. I don't get it. I'm a single middle-aged guy, and I had a little bit of credit card debt under Trump. I've doubled that under Biden, and everything I have that I buy for myself, I just have myself and dogs to worry about. Everything has doubled. I went to the vet. I used to get a rabies vaccine for my dog for $20 at the clinic. It's now $42. It's absolutely ludicrous to try and live, at least in Massachusetts, on a single income. There's no way that I could do another 4 years under Kamala.
Craig, I'm just curious, and again, I don't want to get I really appreciate you sharing how hard it's been for you, because believe me, there are so many people in the same boat as you are. And if I'm getting too personal, please tell me, Craig, what for you has been the single backbreaker, of everything out there: gas, groceries, food, rent or mortgage, whatever, utilities, energy bills, you mentioned your pets, your dogs. What is it that you say, Jeff, that's the real hammer blow? That's the one that's really ringing my bell. What's the one that's really been the most expensive for you?
Only two primary major costs that I have that really just kill me is food and gas. I'm lucky right now that company I'm working for pays for my gas, for most of my gas for work-related activities. But it's between that and food costs. I go to 3 different grocery stores, spending more money in gas to try and save maybe 10 to 15% on my groceries, because I'm buying something at Market Basket or something at Price Chopper or something at Stop and Shop, just to try and get a savings somewhere, but I end up losing it in gas costs.
Incredible. Craig, what have you noticed? I've noticed vegetables, fruits, and meats. Those are the 3 things I've noticed that when I do, because I do the shopping in our home, right? I mean, Grace does other things, but, that's one of the things I want to take off her plate. So I always religiously do the grocery shopping. I cannot believe how expensive meat, chicken, beef, sausage, pork, fruits, blueberries are outrageous. Strawberries. Everything. I could go on and on. Tomatoes, cucumbers. I just can't believe how expensive. I'm not talking about, some exotic fruit or, I'm buying coconut or I don't know what. I'm just talking apples, bananas, blueberries, the basics. And it's gotten it's $6.99 for a pint of blueberries. This is insane. I go to the grocery store now, Craig. I'm telling you, I will spend $100 like it's nothing. I'm like, there's nothing in the cart. It's one grocery bag. I'm like, how do you $100 for one grocery bag? I don't know how people do it. What do you find is when you go grocery shopping for food, what have you found over the last 3-4 years has really skyrocketed?
My biggest thing is milk. I eat a lot of cereal in the morning. I'm basic in the morning, just cereal and milk. And those two things right there are just amazing. It's the milk costs. I go to one store just to buy the milk because they charge $2.69 a gallon. I drive there to get my milk. Walmart, where I buy my cereal, I go to Walmart to buy cereal because it's the cheapest price. But the prices have gone up so much. I used to be able to get a box of cereal, and I could spend less than $2 a pound for just a basic box of cereal, like Cheerios or something. And now it's, you're talking $2.50, $3 a pound. $2.50 if you want the generic. You're talking over $3 a pound for a box, for basic cereal. That there's nothing's changed about it in 4 years.
No, you're dead on. Oh, Craig, you're dead on. Look, they're killing us. Bit by bit, they're killing us. There's no question. And I agree with you, Craig. I don't know how we're going to survive another 4 years of this, really. And with her, it's only going to get worse. It's not even it's going to stay the same, which is bad. It's going to get even worse. Greg, thank you very much for that call. I really appreciate it. By the way, he's right. Cereal. I don't know if you go cereal. If you buy cereal, a large box, for the kids like to eat, right? So I get one of those large, a large box or family size or whatever. Kellogg's with strawberries. It's $7.99 at Stop and Shop. $7.99. It's $8. $8. And I'm looking at this, and it used to be $4 under Trump. So don't tell me that groceries haven't gone through the roof. And these idiots, Biden and Harris are like, oh, but you're making so much more money. Oh, it's raining money out there. I'm like, it's not raining money for me. I don't know about you. Are you making so much more money that you can go and pay $8 for a box of cereal and scoff at it and say, well, I'm making so much more. This is peanuts. 6, we're falling behind. The middle and working class is falling behind. Inflation is outpacing wages. It's not even close. Dane in the great state of South Dakota. Thanks for holding, Dane, and welcome.
Yes, Jeff. Let me tell you something. When President Trump was the president, I had an RV. I lived in an RV. And I also lived only on my Social Security. But I survived. It was okay. Today, as I talk to you right now, okay, as I'm in the confessional, my hand's on the Bible, I'm laying on the floor in South Dakota at the Cornerstone Mission Shelter Home. Okay, as of last Friday, I'm homeless. That's how bad it's gotten. Okay, I had to work. I lost my job. I had to go to work here in South Dakota, and I still couldn't make it. And I had some medical issues. But I'll tell you something, the difference between Trump then and me now, I'm sitting here laying on the floor, my cot, in the Cornerstone Mission homeless shelter as of today, right now. That's how bad things are getting. And it is tough. And I'm 71 years old. As you know, Jeff, I'm an older man, and it's not any easier. It's a lot tougher. But I'll tell you, I'm not giving up. And I'll tell you, if President Trump doesn't get it in, we are in the destruction of this nation. And, as far as this propaganda that they're serving on Kamala Harris, don't be surprised if you don't see if they could bring back Michael Jackson to do Beat It and Moondance on a convention, they would have him on a stage. They would bring, they'll probably bring Barbara Babs Streisand, the thing funny girl there, like it's some Broadway play. This is the propaganda that's going on now. They brought back the Joseph Goebbels handbook and that other guy Solinsky's handbook to propaganda this Kamala Harris. This don't believe this. Trump is winning at every aspect, every poll. It's the full onslaught of Hollywood, the deep state, the CIA, the Department of Injustice in full fifth gear now. Fifth gear going to get this woman back in so they can keep their criminal empire going.
You nailed it.
It's a shame.
No, Dane, you nailed it. Dane, listen, please take care of yourself, my friend. It breaks my heart to hear that you're sleeping in a homeless shelter. We're going to get you back in that RV. You're going to get back into your own place. And you're going to, live your retirement in dignity as you should. Dane, take care and please keep calling. Okay, my friend? God bless you, Dane. 617-26. I mean, it's outrageous, but this is just an example. The people, he lost his RV. And I got to say, I'm getting flooded with texts and messages and emails. People on fixed income. Everyone's saying, Jeff, if you're on a fixed income, you're crazy to vote for Kamala Harris. I so agree. Because, look, say what you want. If I really need to make more money, I could go make more money, or Grace can go make more money, or, whatever. But if I'm a disabled veteran, here, Larry just messaged me. He's had to go and give plasma 80 times this year just to make extra money. He's a veteran on a fixed income, a disabled vet. He's on a fixed income. So, the elderly, I think about them all the time on a fixed income. Now, just as a quick aside, because this is a very important development, Trump really codified yesterday his position, saying, basically saying, look, I'm telling you, it's going to be a key platform. Guarantee I will deliver on this. There will be no more taxes on Social Security income. I'm going to eliminate all taxes on, not just on tips for those in the service and hospitality industry, but I'm also going to eliminate all taxes on Social Security income. So people on fixed incomes, if Trump wins, you're going to get a nice bump every single month because those taxes are going to be gone. And, for people who are elderly or disabled, or that goes a long way. That and dropping prices down, cutting prices across the board. Andy in Milford. Thanks for holding, Andy, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Andy.
Hey, Jeff, there is one thing that immediately came to mind that's been cheaper under Biden-Harris. Fentanyl.
Well, that is true. There's so much coming in. There's so much supply, Andy, that the price has gone down.
Yep, and that's because his Homeland Security chief, Mayorkas, has just flat out refused to enforce the laws. And it also goes back to the job that Kamala Harris did as border czar, which was she did no job on it at all.
Well, Andy, look, to me, this is what I find Orwellian. I mean, this is really scary. How all of a sudden now the Democrats and the media are just going on. I don't know if you saw the interview between Jonathan Karl and J.D. Vance, where J.D. Vance says, Kamala's responsible for the border. She was the border czar. And then Jonathan Karl from ABC says, she was never the border czar. That's not true. And J.D. Vance is like, what are you talking about? She was literally appointed the border czar. She bragged about it. Biden bragged about it. You all reported on it thousands of times. All of a sudden now, the last 4 years never happened? Of course that was her portfolio, was the border. She was supposed to fix the, quote, root causes of the migration crisis, as they called it. But now, all of a sudden, Andy, she has nothing to do with the border. In fact, she's now running ads. She's going to be a sheriff. She's so tough on the border now, Andy. She's going to personally stand on the border with a cowboy hat and 2 6-guns, like in the Old West. And she's going to shoot them as they come on in. I mean, you got to see the ridiculous ad now that they're running, Andy. So you're completely dead on. She owns that border. She invited that invasion. She was the border czar. Over 10 million illegals have now poured in. All the fentanyl, all the drugs. She owns that, inflation, the economy, everything. In fact, Andy, I don't know if you know this. In the Inflation Reduction Act, which was one of the big bills passed by the Democrats, Kamala Harris was the tie-breaking vote in the Senate. The tie-breaking vote. So, all of the trillions of dollars in spending, check. She voted for that. The record inflation, she voted for that. Tips. Now all of a sudden, oh no, she's against taxing tips. No, she just copied Trump. That Inflation Reduction Act, I mean, I don't know why the Trump campaign doesn't play this up even more. She was the tie-breaking vote. It was that act that mandated the IRS to crack down on tips, to squeeze even more taxes from people who make a lot of their money or their living off of tips. She voted for that. All of a sudden now, it's just popular in Nevada. Well, you know what? If it's working for Trump, it'll work for me. No, I'm against taxing on tips. I want to eliminate all taxes from tips. She's a liar. She's a fraud. She's a chameleon. And last night, Trump began to really expose her. And Andy, if he keeps doing what he did last night, he's going to have a wonderful night on November 5th. Final word to you, Andy.
Well, I agree, like you would say, Jeff, 1,000% with all of that. And it needs to be said, we did not fall off the turnip truck yesterday. Maybe the Moonbats did, but we didn't.
Amen, brother. Amen. Thank you for that call, Andy. Annie in Chelsea. Thanks for holding, Annie, and welcome.
Oh, greetings from the sanctuary city of Chelsea, located in the country of America. Jeff, I love you in a non-sexual way. Jeff.
Go ahead, Annie.
Jeff, my take-home pay won't even take me home.
Thank you for that call, Annie. I mean, that's how many people feel, really. My take-home pay won't even take me home. I mean, they're hosing us down good. And you know, what I find incredible is you're watching the media. Like, I got CNN on and MSNBC and, they're all on. And this inflation report comes in and it's 2.9%. And they're cheering and celebrating, and it's under 3%. The first time since March 2021, it's under 3%. Yeah. You got Biden taking a victory lap. Kamala, we beat inflation. It's still going up. It has gone up for the last 3.5 years. So the prices are now very high. It's still going up. It won't stop going up. It's just going up a little bit slower than it was going up before. What are you celebrating? Prices are still through the roof. The basics of love, the necessities of life, the basics of life are still way too expensive. Like, what planet do you people live on? Life is not complicated. You need gas to get to work and to drive around. You need food and groceries to feed yourself and your family. You need rent or mortgages to put a roof over your head. You've got to have electricity. You've got to have AC in the summer, heating in the winter. If all of those things are up 30, 40, 50, 60, 70%, you've got yourself a serious economic crisis. Now, it doesn't matter how many jobs you create. It doesn't matter how well the stock market is doing. If I can't afford the basics of life, then my standard of living is shot. I'm falling behind. And to me, if you want to know what the last 3.5 years, if I'm to define the Biden-Harris regime in one sentence, it has been the erosion and the decline of the middle and working class. The middle and the working class have been impoverished over the last 3.5 years. People on welfare, they're doing great. The illegals that have poured in, this is a golden age for them. They're in the 5-star hotels. They're getting $64 a day to eat for food. They're doing great. And of course, the elites, the wealthy, they've had an incredible 4 years. But the rest of us, they fleeced us and fleeced us good. 7:20 here on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, Trump last night really on the warpath. Absolutely brilliant speech. I hope he continues to deliver. Honestly, just do the same speech. Just, like a stump speech. Just do it over and over and over again in battleground state after battleground state. Because, man, he hit the nail on the head. He contrasted his vision with that of Kamala Harris's, her record versus his, and he made a very clear contrast. And then he reminded everyone, you want low inflation? I did it. You want a booming economy? I did it. You want a secure border? I did it. You want low gas, low grocery bills, low energy utility bills? I did it. And so he pledged last night that if he's elected president on November 5th, he will cut energy prices in half, gas in half, what you pay at the pump, electric utility energy bills, 50 to 70% within a year to 18 months. He will have the entire federal government wage an all-out war on inflation. 6-1, to me, it's clearly the winning message. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, I want to read this. It's from Robert, and I think it really sums up what so many millions of Americans are going through, especially Americans on fixed income, whether it's because they're disabled veterans, or they've retired. Jeff, I'm 72. My wife is 65. We live in Maine. It's a bit of a long message, so I want to paraphrase it. Basically, they rely on Social Security income. However, their weekly grocery bill under Trump was $140. Now it has gone up so much they can no longer afford meat. So they no longer eat meat. They become, literally, the economy has forced them to become vegetarians. And so they say, but we do eat a lot of fruits and vegetables. And now, however, even with cutting out meat, the grocery bill is now $200 a week. So they don't eat meat, and they're paying more than they used to pay under Trump. But hold on, there's more. Jeff, we used to, under Trump, go out to dinner once a week at about $100. Now to go out, same restaurant, same meal, same everything, it's $140. Well, we are big tippers, but now we don't go out every week. We're lucky if we go out twice a month for just a simple dinner. Now we both work. I asked my employer, it's time to return full time. Gas has doubled So we drive 80% less. And this is the part now that gets heartbreaking. We are unable to afford as many trips to Connecticut to see our grandkids. Our electricity heating is up 40%. We no longer save. In fact, now we have to start using modest retirement savings. So they're dipping now into their savings, their retirement savings. And that they're going at this rate, it's only going to last another 5 years. They have 2 cars. They have to now go to 1 car. They now decline visits to family celebrations. They can no longer they can no longer go on a vacation. They now have health issues, but they're afraid to call a doctor, let alone go to a hospital, because it's all becoming too expensive. Now, this person serves on his town's budget board. Quote, listen to this. Jeff, I'm terrified about the escalating property taxes. Will have doubled in 6 years. And he ends with this. My worst fear is that I may have to start asking my children for money. This is weighing on me. It's brutal, Jeff, and it's getting worse. He can't see his kids and his grandkids as much. He can't visit them in Connecticut. They've gone from 2 cars to 1 car. They eat out considerably less. Everything is costing so much more. From electricity to groceries to gas. He's now dipping into his retirement savings. At this rate, it's going to run out in 5 years. And this proud man and his wonderful wife, it's now, it would really bother me, I'll be honest. I understand exactly where Robert's coming from. If in my golden years, where I'm supposed to be retired and enjoy a few years of my life, not having to work, and enjoy my children and my grandchildren, and live with some dignity, and some comfort, and now I have to go and beg my children for money just to help me get by, to pay the basic necessities? And you're telling me that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden have been good for the country and good for the economy? And to all you liberals and moonbats out there, you're going to vote for her again? We'll vote for her and double down on Bidenomics again? Whether it's Kamalanomics or Bidenomics, it's the same thing. You're getting screwed. The rich get richer, the illegals get richer, and you, me, and the rest of us, the working stiffs and the poor people on Social Security and fixed incomes, those who've paid into the system and worked their whole lives, or these poor disabled veterans, we're the ones who are getting screwed and hosed. To President Trump, if you're listening, last night's speech was a beauty. Don't stop. 7:32 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, very quickly, lines are jammed. I want to go right to the phone lines. Listen now to President Trump in North Carolina. Trust me when I tell you this, when I say it was one of his best speeches. Listen now to Trump. Not only did he compare and contrast his years as president to the Biden-Harris regime, but he's warning Americans. You think your pocketbook is bad now. You think your finances are in horrible shape now. Ho. Wait until you have 4 years of Commie Kamala. Roll cut to a Mike.
With 4 more years of Harris, your finances will never recover. They're never going to recover. Our country will never recover, frankly, more importantly. It will be unrecoverable. Vote Trump and your incomes will soar, your savings will grow, young people will be able to afford a home, and we will bring back the American dream bigger, better, and stronger than ever before.
I love you in a non-sexual way. I love you. Yes. Incomes will come back. Inflation will go down. Your savings, you're going to start having them again. And to all the young people out there in the 20s and 30s, you want to have a home? You want to leave mommy and daddy's basement? You don't want to keep renting for the rest of your life? Huh? You want to be able to have a home, maybe get married, call me crazy, start a family? Huh? Vote Donald Trump. Because if you go with Kamala and Waltz, you have no economic future. Hell, you have no future whatsoever. The only future you're going to have is being a welcome mat for illegals as they completely take over our country. Mike in the great state of Florida, the Freedom State. Thanks for holding, Mike, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. How are you, sir?
Good. How are you, Mike?
I'm doing the best I can. I am in the great state of Florida, and I can tell you firsthand as far as the retirement geographic, I see firsthand folks. I'm lucky enough to have retired early, but there are folks who are living in mobile homes, guys who were, pharmaceutical salesmen who made $300,000 a year and are now pinched under insurance taxes and all this other stuff. But more importantly, as an economist, I look at the numbers, and we are suffering in the great state of Florida. How are folks doing? I'm a transplant from New Hampshire, and I left New Hampshire for a reason. I'm a good friend of Chris Nunes, but how the later class, the retirement class is suffering down here. We're getting pinched. We're getting pinched by the insurance and all of these things that, you look at it economically, not politically, look at it by the numbers that under Kamala Harris and Joe Biden in the last 3 years that I've lived here in Florida, I'm scared. I'm scared, man. I'm terrified. But,
Mike, you should be. I mean, Mike, look, I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer. I really am not, because I really do believe, I'm telling you, Trump's going to win. Okay, Trump is going to win on November 5th for a whole host of reasons. So I think things are going to turn around. But no, you're completely right to be frightened and scared. Really, because they're going to bury us. They're burying us, and they're going to really bury us. And I'll just give you an example. Very, very good family friend. Okay, very dear family friend. Smart, highly educated. She's really, she went to school, she got graduate degrees, successful communications director, not a pharma salesman, but, wasn't making $300,000 a year, but she was doing okay. I would say maybe $120,000 a year. Very good salary, very good job. She's very talented at what she does. She got laid off. Everybody's cutting across the board. She can't find work in her field. And she's willing to go anywhere in the country. Anywhere. She's willing to work from home. She's willing to go to any state, any city, any locale, anywhere. She now has to work as a waitress. Now, there's nothing wrong with working as a waitress. It's a very honorable job. I respect, and I do. I respect waiters and waitresses and servers. But my point is, she was trained as a communications director. She got a college degree. She got 2 graduate degrees. She's been a communications director for years, different companies, but that's been her field. Now she's got to wait tables at half the salary, literally half the salary. And she and her husband are extremely stressed because they don't know if they can keep paying the mortgage every month. They are stressed out of their mind. They're going to have to lose their home. So just to give you one small example. So, you're mentioning people who have to live in mobile homes who once were making $300,000 a year. This is happening all over the country. That's why I don't believe the polls. Unless these people are insane. I don't know what else to tell you. Some people just don't know their self-interest. But if you have half a brain and you know your self-interest, you are crazy. You're a lunatic if you vote for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. It's like voting to chop off your left arm. Why would you vote to chop off your left arm? Why would you do that? It's a massive self-inflicted wound. So, Mike, I hear you. And look, and to be even more honest, like I'm in the confessional, and I'm going to say this out loud, and I'm going to take a tremendous amount of heat for it, but I don't care because it's the truth. I don't know if talk radio can survive a Kamala Tim Walz regime. And I don't just mean because of censorship, which is part of it. They're going to hunt us down one by one. No question. They're going to sick the IRS on us. That's why they have those 87,000 agents. And they're going to destroy us one by one or take us off the air. But on a broader picture, broader macro level, I think a lot of these big radio conglomerates are going to crash, potentially. Because we're going to have a Great Depression under Kamala. And radio, like much of media, runs on revenue from advertising, ad revenue. If the economy tanks, ad revenue tanks. If ad revenue tanks, I'm telling you, talk radio, it's going to be a bloodbath. So, I know a lot, privately, I'm telling you what some of these talk show hosts are saying. Oh, it's going to be good for us, Jeff. I go, how's it going to be good for us? Oh, we're going to have great radio material every day. Country will be in an outrage. They'll be upset at Kamala. Our ratings will be sky high. They're actually secretly voting for Kamala Harris because they think it'll benefit their careers and benefit their ratings. And I'm shaking my head. I'm like, you people are so stupid. It's just, honestly, it boggles the mind. You're not going to have a radio company to work for. You're not going to have a station to work for because there won't be any ad revenue because the economy is going to be so bad. It's going to be like the Great Depression. Genius. This is what I'm saying, Mike. You have people, and these are quite intelligent people. I'm like, don't you know your own self-interest? When the communists seize power, run. You can vote communism in, but you can't vote communism out. Once they're in, they're not leaving. And everything they touch, they destroy. Here, look, it's very simple. This election is very simple. If you want San Francisco and California on a national level, that's what you're going to, and frankly, Minneapolis and Minnesota under Walz. You're going to get it across the entire country. Now, you tell me who's prospering in California, who's prospering in Minnesota. People are fleeing. They're leaving in record numbers. The problem is once they take over the whole country, where do we go? We've got nowhere else to go. Final word to you, Mike.
Yes, sir. I can tell you here in Florida, which is a beautiful state, and DeSantis has done a great job here, but when I see retirees suffering like they are in South Dakota, your dear caller who called in, God bless him, we're, I'm in good shape at the moment, but in 5 years, where do I land,
Mike, I think we all may be heading to Switzerland. I don't know what to say. No, really, we're not surviving these 4 years. I'm telling you, I'm going to be very honest with you. I mean, we'll survive. I think, people survive in Venezuela. But the America that we knew, the America that we love, if they win, it's gone. It's gone. Kiss it away. Bye-bye. 7:50 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay. Two things you need to be aware of. This is how the race is now crystallizing. So don't take my word for it. Okay? I don't want you to take my word what the stakes are. I don't want you to take Donald Trump's word what the stakes are. I want you to listen now to Elon Musk. Here is what Elon posted last night on X. And this is the ultimate 5-alarm fire for the entire country. Quote, after sleeping on it, my conclusion is that the United States is indeed lost if there is another 4 years of open borders, failure to prosecute crime, lawfare, and increased censorship. It's not even about the candidate. Kamala is obviously just a docile puppet of the system. Every single word is true. Every single word that Elon said is 1,000% true. You have 4 more years of open borders, and they're refusing to prosecute violent crime. Lawfare, which is really just another way of saying persecution of enemies, of political opponents. Weaponizing the justice legal system to go after anybody that threatens the regime. And this continuing censorship. He goes, you don't, I mean, the country's over. It'll be fundamentally transformed politically, economically, socially, demographically. What he's really saying is they're going to implement the communist revolution. And it's the system. If you notice, Kamala, look, you can replace Biden with Kamala. You can replace Biden with Whitmer, with Gavin Newsom, with even Tim Walz. It doesn't matter. Don't make him VP. Make him, the presidential nominee. With Mark Kelly, with Senator Kelly. It doesn't matter. They're all interchangeable. They all push the same policies. They all back the same deep state. They all push for the same lawfare, the same censorship, the same globalism, the same open borders, the same third worldization of our country. It really, candidates almost don't matter now. It's like the Soviet Union. It's the system. As long as the system survives, whether it's Brezhnev, Chernenko, Andropov, Khrushchev, Gorbachev, it doesn't matter. Who cares? Okay, throw them out, put a new one in. Who cares? Same thing. And the regime goes on. He's completely right. Now, very quickly, this is an absolutely brilliant text. Brilliant text. Kamala Harris tomorrow is going to deliver her economic plan. Now, they've already telegraphed what she's going to say. She's going to go after corporations for price gouging. So, in other words, it wasn't her. It wasn't Biden. It wasn't Bidenomics. It wasn't the Green New Deal. It wasn't, in other words, it wasn't their policies, the reckless tax, spend, borrow policies that gave us all this inflation. No. It was those evil corporations. They're the ones raising prices, price gouging. But she's going to call for a ban. I kid you not. Like a price ban on food. She's going to call saying that you cannot raise prices. In other words, basically price controls. She's going to put a federal ban in place that you can't raise food prices above, say, 2% or 3%. And she's also going to push for a massive federal minimum wage. So we're talking now about draconian price and wage controls from a centralized economy. Now, this is from 917. Jeff, we are no longer talking about hypothetical communism. We are talking about 2 straight-up communists who want to institute a federal price ban on food and a federal minimum wage that is going to make every business/corporation go out of business. Now, I don't give a single damn if you don't like Trump's tweets or if you don't like what he says or you think he's too vulgar. Hell, you don't even have to like Trump. You are now voting for the leader of the free world. You are not voting for the prom king or a new best friend forever or your next husband. Nobody cares if he says things that hurt your precious feelings. When Trump was president, your streets were safe. Your border was secure. Your wallet had more money in it. You could buy more goods with your paychecks. And the entire world was at peace instead of on fire. Voting for communism is not the solution to your precious feelings. Get a therapist. Amen. Anthony in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Anthony, and welcome.
Always, Jeff.
Hi, Anthony.
Hi. It's kind of a two-part thing. I'm calling because of my country's more important, but I also have that state senator in my district that's running that called your show in 2016 and said that he was going to overturn our delegates and give them the Jeb Bush. Is there any way to get archives of your show, Jeff?
That's a good question, Anthony. I know we have podcasts, and I know you can go back quite a while, but that far back, no, they're telling me in my headphones, no, we can't go. I'm sorry, Anthony, we can't go that far back.
And I'm calling about is the president race anyways, because the Senate means nothing if we lose that. Why are we throwing jabs at Kamala Harris with this border czar thing? What did Joe Biden say for the first 6 months to the year of his presidency in almost every press conference that he ran? Why isn't Trump running the fact that Joe Biden said that he was not Kamala Harris's president, vice president, that it was a co-presidency ticket, that this was going to be the first time in history that she was going to be my equal? He said it numerous times, Jeff. Why aren't we playing that?
Oh, you're completely right. Anthony, you're completely right. And Anthony, not to change the subject, but let me just ask you this. It's another log on the fire because you sparked something in my mind. Not only did he say she was a co-president, not only did he say she's got full responsibility over the border. That's her portfolio. Not only did he call her the border czar. On Afghanistan, and for some strange reason, I don't know, if I were Trump, I would mention Afghanistan a lot more. I understand inflation, the economy, the border, immigration, crime. Those are the top 2-3 issues. I get it. But to me, that debacle and disaster that took place in Afghanistan, and I don't know if you saw the Taliban, they celebrated their 3rd year anniversary in power with a huge military parade showcasing our weapons. Going at Bagram Air Base and taunting us. And what's happened in that country is a disaster, an absolute disaster. Biden said that the last person who left the room with him to make that decision was Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris. 20 years we spent in Afghanistan. How many of our young men and women died? How many trillions of dollars we spent? How much blood, American blood and treasure was expended? And they kissed it all away. They squandered it all away and handed it over with billions of dollars of our finest military equipment to literally our mortal enemies. And this was done directly under Biden and Kamala. It was their decision. It was their policy. They took credit for it. If you want to call it credit, they took responsibility for it. To me, this is just a taste of what's going to happen to us if she becomes president and occupies the White House. Afghanistan was one of the greatest military disasters in the history of the United States. And it was clearly the result of two people, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Anthony, am I wrong?
Absolutely not, Jeff. It's amazing how the Democrats can flip on a coin when you confront them with the truth. This woman, I made a post on Facebook. Please name one thing that Kamala Harris has done in her entire career. They have to go back to her as a DA to say anything about the woman. She was a senator for 6 years, people. 6 years is a long time. You don't know nothing she did as a senator. You're going to make her president? You're crazy. Our country's lost, Jeff. I'm in agreement with Musk. If we lose, and you know what kills me? Because it kills me when I hear the left doing it. Like I'm doing the same fear mongering that they are. The only problem is their fear mongering is crap, and ours is real.
Oh, I think there's no question. I mean, look, Anthony, I'm not saying you physically go. I'm just, as a figure of speech, just go to San Francisco. I mean, look what she's done. Go to California. Look what they've done. Go to Minneapolis. I mean, Anthony, when we adopted Ashton, okay, one of the happiest days of my life, I had to spend over a month in Minneapolis to get the adoption paperwork done and to clear everything. And so, I spent some time in Minnesota. Now, this was in 2012. Anthony, God is my witness. Minneapolis, St. Paul, beautiful. It was clean. The streets were clean. It was safe. You could walk out at night at 8, 9, 10 o'clock. People were friendly. I mean, it was a great American city. I mean, literally, Grace and I were like, geez, if I wasn't working here at WRKO, I'd be like, Minneapolis, St. Paul is a great place to raise your kids. What Tim Walz has done to Minneapolis and to the entire state, it is a crime. He watched his biggest city when he was governor burn to the ground. He's unleashed a crime wave that state has never, ever seen before. The economy is in the toilet. People are fleeing. It is a disaster. Parts of Minneapolis are literally now third world no-go zones. Either it's the Islamists that have it or it's Antifa that occupies it. And we're going to give these two people, these two communists, literally straight up communists, we're going to tell them, run the country? Turn America into California? Or turn America into Minnesota? As you put it, they're crazy. Final word to you, Anthony.
You want to know what your country's going to become? Go to Lawrence, Massachusetts. I work there every day. Take any bike path in the city, and you'll see what our country's going to become. It's littered with pollution and fentanyl people shooting up and prostitutes lining the roads.
That's Venezuela, my friend. That's the United States of Venezuela. That's what happens when you become a socialist third world banana republic. And that's the path that now we're clearly on unless Trump wins in November. Anthony, thank you so much for that call. Lisa in Belmont. Thanks for holding, Lisa, and welcome.
Jeff, you've really hit on the nail on so many issues today. I am noticing two levels on how the middle class is disintegrating. The first level that I'm noticing is that they're getting so poor that they're actually eligible now for different welfare programs, meaning food assistance, heat assistance, free medical. That's how they have fallen. Then I'm noticing a level of this vast distribution of wealth, that the middle class, maybe the parents died, they inherited the house, they sold it, they made a fortune. It's like a huge gap. And I think the middle class under this administration is just going to disintegrate.
And Lisa, the sad part is that's the plan. See, I think that's what a lot of people don't realize. It's not just a consequence of their policies, sort of an unintended consequence. They want to destroy the middle and working class. Why? Because then they'll make everybody dependent upon the state, upon government. And that's why they're bringing in all of these illegals. Because that's another way to buy voters and to buy votes. And then you can have, and if we don't like it, you can replace us with these illegals. And I don't know if you know this, Lisa, but this is the New York Times. Huge story yesterday. Okay? This is the New York Times. They're quoting senior Biden administration officials. They have deliberately accelerated the naturalization process for these migrants coming in on purpose. They're giving them now citizenship papers. 3.3 million have now been given citizenship over the last couple of years. And they say, and it's normally about 1 million. They don't vet them. They deliberately don't vet them. They don't care if they have ties to this country or to the Constitution. They don't care. They don't care if they're economically self-sufficient. They don't care. They want to give out as many citizenship papers as possible because they said it openly in the article, to change the political landscape in time for November. Because as according to them, every vote could change the presidency or change a Senate race or change a House race. So flood the country with illegals and start handing out citizenship like it's candy. And so they have sped up, dramatically accelerated. That's the one thing that's gotten more efficient. It is now at an amazing clip. 3.3 million have now been given citizenship over the last couple of years. Why? To flood and overwhelm the polls for the Democrats in November. So they want to destroy the middle class, they want to destroy the working class, and they want to replace us as workers, as citizens, and as voters. And they're not even hiding it anymore. The New York Times now is openly bragging about it, that it's a brilliant political strategy, and they're implementing it to a T.
It's a T-shirt I just saw that said, "Welcome to El Salvador." Pretty scary out there, Jeff. I'm just afraid when they get behind the wheel. Oh, God.
Well, they're getting behind a lot more than the wheel now. I mean, it's Lisa. Thank you very, very much for that call. I mean, they're getting everything now. I mean, really, they're getting welfare. They're getting $64 a day in meals, $60 for a family of four every day. Free health care, free education, free hotels. Now they're getting citizenship papers. I mean, this is unbelievable. So, yeah, is this a coordinated plan to destroy this country? No question about it. Scott in Revere, thanks for holding, Scott, and welcome.
Jeff, I love you, and in no such a way, my friend.
Thank you, Scott. What's on your mind, my friend?
Jeff, well, the past couple of weeks I've been calling, and I've been very angry. I'm going to be totally honest with you. I'm telling you, the media in this country is the problem. The problem is CNN, MSNBC, ABC, CBS, and the regular woke media in this country. They are literally, when you say propaganda, like for communists, you know what I mean? That's putting it mildly. These people literally are taking a woman who literally is as left as you can get. You can't get no more left than Kamala Harris and the other fool. You don't get no more left. And they're trying to tell us that she's for, what, tips? Wait, you're not going to tax tips. We'll do that now. She's the vice president of the United States right now. Pretty much the president. If she was so gung-ho about tips, not taxing tips, well, then why doesn't she just put it into law right now? See, it's the big lie. It's all a big lie to fool all low-information voters into thinking that this lady is not who she is. And the media is literally taking this country and ruining it. And we got to do something about it. We got to somehow flip the switch. And there's a call every media station and just rip into them every day. Every single day we got to do this now. Because that's what's going to happen. Come November, the media is going to come out and say, oh, Kamala Harris took Pennsylvania. And I'm going to say to myself while I'm sitting there saying, how in the hell did she take Pennsylvania? You know what I mean?
Scott, yeah, I mean, you're making perfect sense. This is a woman who, for her entire career, has called to ban fracking, who said we have to destroy domestic energy, oil, and gas production. Well, Pennsylvania, I mean, fracking is the backbone of the economy in Pennsylvania. So how the hell can she possibly win Pennsylvania? But they're going to try to steal it. Look, Scott, I'm convinced of this now. To put two such far left, hard left ideologues, fanatics, at the, presidential and vice presidential ticket, at the top of the ticket. No, it's obvious. they're not planning to win this free and fair. They're going to steal it, and they're going to steal it right underneath our nose. And that's why if Trump is listening, block the steal now. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, listen now to President Trump yesterday, forgive me, in North Carolina, saying we cannot take 4 more years of Kamala Harris. Listen now to Trump saying on November 5th, our message to her and the entire Biden-Harris regime, you're fired. Roll cut 4, Mike.
We're not going to let this incompetent socialist lunatic keep breaking our economy for 4 more years. It'll destroy our country. On Election Day, we're going to tell her that we've had enough, that we can't take it anymore, Kamala. You're doing a horrible job. You were a terrible attorney general. You were a terrible district attorney. You're the worst vice president in history. Kamala, you're fired. Get out of here. Go.
Yeah, baby. yeah. Now that's what I'm talking about. Again, it was a master speech. There's no other way to put it. And then just very quickly, here is how Trump is now framing the election. Now, he stays on this. He can't lose. If you like what's happening in California, then you vote for Kamala and Tim Walz. If you like what I did for 4 years, then you vote for me. So really, do you want commie California and, with all the mess that California has become, or do you want the American dream? It's really that simple. Roll cut 5, Mike.
Everything Kamala Harris touches turns bad. It all turns bad. San Francisco was a great city. Now it's unlivable. California was a great state. Now it's unlivable. She breaks everything just like she broke the border, broke our economy. But soon we are going to fix every single problem Kamala Harris and Joe Biden have created. And we are going to save our country. We are going to save America. We're going to save America.
Look, I'm telling you, I've seen a lot of Trump rallies. I've seen him deliver a lot of speeches, but I've never seen him as disciplined, as focused, as on message as he was yesterday. And all he's got to do now is keep repeating that speech in battleground after battleground after battleground state. And I am telling you, he is going to soar in the polls. And if they can just make sure that they don't steal the election, have enough poll watchers, have enough lawyers, everybody's got to do their part, then Trump will be victorious on election night. Now, let me just quickly throw this log on the fire. The Trump team is now very worried about reports coming out of New York City that Judge Juan Merchan, you know him, that corrupt Democrat hack judge, is going to be sentencing Trump over the Alvin Bragg case, the so-called hush money case. Andy McCarthy, who's an opinion guy, a contributor and a columnist at National Review. He's also on Fox News, one of their legal analysts. Andy McCarthy yesterday came out and said he is convinced that Merchan will put Trump behind bars. Apparently now, Trump's people are getting wind that Merchan is also promising to put Trump either under house arrest or put him behind bars, put him in jail 2 months before the election. They feel that this is their last play, that Kamala cannot win on her own, and the only way to stop Trump is to jail Trump. So let me throw this log on the fire. If Juan Merchan jails Trump or imprisons Trump, will that hurt him or help him? I'll be perfectly brutally honest with you, like I'm in the confessional. I think if they try to imprison Trump 2 months before the election, it is going to be such blatant election interference, such naked authoritarianism, such obvious political persecution, that not only is the backlash going to be immense, it is going to alienate so many independent voters that it's going to propel Trump even higher, 10, 15 points in the polls. I think it's going to boomerang against them. They think putting him behind bars is going to be a PR disaster for Trump and effectively take him off the campaign trail. And then they will paint him not just as a convicted felon, but as an imprisoned felon. And they believe that this will tank Trump's numbers and put Kamala over the top. So my question to you, if they jail Trump or put him under house arrest, will it hurt Trump or ultimately will it benefit Trump? David in Ashland. Thanks for holding, David, and welcome.
Jeff.
Hi.
Regarding LaShawn, I think that what's going to happen is if they, I think that they would probably do house arrest. I think only because that they wouldn't want to be like the bad boys and stuff. But I think that even under house arrest, let's face it, Biden and, he was in the cellar. I think that, wherever Trump is at, I think that Trump is a force to be reckoned with. I think he's the only issue is, I've traveled to Russia and to Belarus, and I can tell you the media in this country has turned into the media in the communist countries, and they'll put a spin on it to make Trump really look terrible. That's their role.
David, I'm just curious. You've been to Russia, you've been to Belarus. How would you compare the media there to the media here? Is it the same? Is it better? Is it worse? David, if you could hang on, I'm up against a hard break. We're going to come back with David, finish my call with him, take all of your calls. Don't touch that dial. 8:32 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, let's go right back to David in Ashland. David he's visited Russia. He's visited Belarus, formerly communist countries, but still both of them run by very repressive regimes. The media is completely in the tank for both Putin and Lukashenko, who's the strongman that runs Belarus. And so David was making the point that our media has become very similar to the media in both Russia and Belarus. David, if you don't mind me asking, how would you compare our media to what you saw or what you've seen in Russia or Belarus? Is it the same? Is it a little bit better? Is it worse? What say you?
Well, I would have to say the media in Belarus and Russia was like a main media source that was coming out. I would have to say the United States has reinforced propaganda. Basically, they're weaponized, and it's multiple medias, and they all have the same agenda. And I don't know whether that was under that law that was enacted by Obama back in 2013. But I can tell you also, too, that even in voting, I was there during an election in Belarus, and I'll tell you, it's like I knew someone that was at the polls. The people didn't want Lukashenko, and what happened was at the end of the day, a group of people came in, took the boxes, and Lukashenko in that particular area, he was a top dog. So there's cheating in the voting, just like I think we have here, and I think the media in this country needs to be, abolished, whatever, and it needs to be fact checked for everything that they do, and if they don't do it, then they should be pay a major consequence. I think that we need to root not only if Trump becomes president. I think that the media needs to be taken apart, and they need to start printing the truth and telling the truth.
I so agree. Oh, you have no idea how much I agree. In fact, David, to me, if it wasn't for the media carrying Kamala Harris, this election would be over right now. I mean, it'd be over. I mean, all we got to do is just wait till November 5th and, and Trump is in and we can start turning the country around. And in fact, in that Axios piece where Kamala's advisors are talking about their strategy, they openly admit that their whole strategy rests on a completely subservient and compliant media. They go, no, the media will make this a style over substance election. The media will paint her as a fresh face. The media will cover up for her. The media will allow her to hide and stay in the basement. So, they're openly saying, oh, no, the media, that's our biggest ally. Our whole strategy rests upon the fact that we know the media is going to cover up for us and protect us every step of the way. I mean, it's disgusting. They are the enemy of the American people, as Trump said. And that's why they need to be thoroughly exposed and discredited. David, thank you very much for that call. In fact, I don't want to get too sidetracked, but I want to show you how bad and how blatant it's getting. So, as an example, okay, even by CNN standards, okay, this is CNN. It's a new low. So, as you know, Musk and Trump had a wide-ranging, record-shattering discussion interview on X, a combined 1 million viewership, 1 million views. And the overwhelming majority, people between the ages of 18 to 35. So not only did he have a massive audience, but it was a young audience. And of course, that petrified the media. So the elite establishment propaganda media went after Musk and Trump. Dana Bash, CNN, was caught red-handed, openly lying and misrepresenting what Trump and Musk were discussing, in particular when it came to nuclear energy and nuclear power. So, in the beginning of the conversation, they start talking about the bombings in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. By the time Dana Bash is done, she gives the impression to all of the listeners or the viewers that Elon Musk and Trump are all for bombing Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Yeah, blow these cities up, blow other cities up, drop these nukes. The more nukes we drop, the better. I understand that it was okay to blow them up the first time, and who cares how many people died, because, hey, they love cities being incinerated by nuclear bombs. Listen now to Dana Bash. Roll cut 14, Mike.
I want to play one exchange that was kind of classic. Well, there were a lot of exchanges that were classic Donald Trump, but this one really stuck out to us.
And Nagasaki were bombed, but now they're like full cities again. So
right,
it's
right,
really
right.
not
That's
something
right.
that
Right.
So it's not as scary as people think. Basically,
it's not as scary.
So
as
that
people
was
think.
more Elon Musk than Donald Trump talking about, sort of suggesting that what happened almost 80 years ago, I think 80 years ago next year, the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Now it's okay.
It's okay.
Kind of trying to blow off the impact of that.
Yeah, hundreds of thousands of people dead. No problem. It's okay. Hey. In other words, these are two warmongering lunatics. Okay? That's what they're trying to convey. That these are sociopathic, heartless lunatics who think dropping nuclear bombs is no big thing. So you're watching CNN. That's why, by the way, if you just watch CNN, that's why you hate the guy so much. That's why you want to kill him. Because if that's all you're being fed by CNN, you're thinking, oh my God, he's going to get us all killed. This guy loves nuclear war. Here's what was really said. Here was what was really said. Okay? I'm going to I don't want to read the whole transcript. I'm going to read to you just a few lines. This is Elon Musk So they're talking about nuclear energy and nuclear power. Here it is. Listen now to Elon. Quote, yeah, actually, there's the bad side of nuclear, which is a nuclear war. Very, very bad side. But then he goes on to say, but there's also, I think, nuclear electricity generation that is underrated. And then he goes on to say to Trump, you're right. People have this fear of nuclear electricity generation, but it's actually one of the safest forms of electricity generation. It's just a huge misunderstanding. Now, he goes on to say, it was a kind of lengthy exchange, but he goes on to say that, hey, nuclear power is cheap. In fact, it's quite safe in terms of nuclear power plants. That more people die or are injured, say, in mining, coal mining or whatever, than are actually in nuclear power plants. And then Trump is chiming in saying, no, I hear you, but it's the branding of it. When people hear nuclear, they think about Hiroshima and Nagasaki. They think about Chernobyl. These things are horrible. These things are bad. And then they said this. Roll cut 14A, Mike.
After Fukushima happened in Japan, people were asking me in California, are we worried about like a nuclear cloud coming from Japan? I'm like, no, that's crazy. It's not even dangerous in Fukushima. I actually flew there and ate locally grown vegetables on TV to prove it. And I donated a solar water treatment, a solar powered system for a water treatment plant. And
yeah, but you haven't been feeling so well lately, and I'm worried about it.
No, but I mean,
I'm only kidding.
It's fine, It's like Hiroshima and Nagasaki were bombed, but now they're like full cities again. So
right.
it's really not something that
That's right.
So it's not as scary as people think, basically.
Yeah.
See, you see how they took it all out of context? He's talking, and then you had that, Fukushima. Remember that meltdown at the nuclear reactor? And he said, no, look, it wasn't that bad. I even went to eat the local food. They were able to clean it up. They were able to recover. In other words, you shouldn't fear nuclear power and nuclear electricity generation. From this, they claim that the two men loved it that Hiroshima and Nagasaki were bombed. So there you have it. There you have it. Jeff Kuhner, liberalism's worst nightmare, 8:51 on the great WRKO. So you've got Elon Musk and Trump in that historic interview that took place on X Space a couple nights ago. Huge, massive audience, actually shattered all records. And the media doesn't know what to do, so they literally concoct and manufacture a fake story. CNN was caught red-handed. So you hear these guys literally saying, nuclear war is a horrible thing. Both of them. Oh, it's horrible. What happened in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, horrible. In fact, Trump is saying that's one of the reasons why we have to stop the war between Russia and Ukraine. Because we don't want Russia to go nuclear. We got to prevent a nuclear war at all costs. And then Elon is saying, no, I know, it's horrible. And he goes, and the sad thing is, people think that nuclear electricity generation, i.e. nuclear power plants, which, by the way, emit no carbon whatsoever, are environmentally very safe, for the most part. They have some leaks here and there, but for the most part, very environmentally sound, extremely cheap, abundant, almost limitless energy. And he says, if you're serious about climate change and if you're serious about the environment, then you would look at nuclear energy, nuclear power, nuclear electricity generation. And then he talks about Fukushima, which had a nuclear meltdown, and some toxic waste spilled out, but they cleaned it up very quickly. And Elon says, by the way, people don't know this, but there were less injuries and deaths from people working at nuclear power plants or toxic spills or whatever than, say, in coal mining or other industries. And he said, even Fukushima, hey, look, they cleaned it up so quick. I went down there, I ate the locally grown food, the vegetables, and Trump is teasing them. Yeah, you don't look so well. And, they're having they're bantering. But the point is, and Trump is saying, no, I know. I hear what you're saying, Elon. But when people hear nuclear, they start freaking out because of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And Elon is saying, I had people running up to me, are we going to have nuclear clouds over California now that we had Fukushima? So he's trying to explain the fear-mongering and the hysteria and the panic porn surrounding nuclear energy. Now, by the time CNN is done, they were ecstatic about the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. This is classic Trump. Yeah, wipe them all out. Yeah, drop those nukes and let them die. The exact opposite of everything they were saying and discussing. Now, the difference this time was we had the tape. We had the actual interview. So when CNN pushed their BS, and it's pure propaganda, lies, people countered and said, no, we heard the interview. No. In fact, it was the very opposite. What are you talking about? Now, has CNN apologized? Niet. Has Dana Bash been reprimanded? Niet. Does anybody who watched CNN even know that they were lied to? Niet. That's how they roll. You know, and as someone once, one of these commentators, I forget who, but made a very good point. Forget liberal bias. You know, forget media bias. Forget even fake news. That's so 8 years ago. What we're watching now, this is regime propaganda. That's what the so-called quote-unquote media has become. They're nothing more now than a propaganda arm of the Biden-Harris regime. Everything they say is a pack of lies. Jude in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Jude, and welcome.
Jeff, how are you?
Good. How are you, Jude?
We're hanging in there. It's kind of a target-rich environment, shall we say, with what's going on right now. I've been on hold a while, and I know your conversation has morphed somewhat. But when you were talking about the inflation and everything, there's really something that needs to be addressed, and that's the Federal Reserve Bank. And a lot of people think that it's an operating unit of the federal government. It's not. It's a privately held bank, like a lot of the central banks are. And the government in 1913 essentially turned over the generation of currency to those individuals that own those banks. And that works against the people with the inflation models that are coming out. I mean, I know they're saying, it's, under 3, but for a lot of people, they don't count, gasoline prices and food prices in that. So the real inflation is much higher. And when they say, it's coming down, well, that's like saying, yeah, you plunged a knife in my back 6 inches and you pulled it out 1.5 inches, and now you're saying you're doing me a favor. Okay, fine. But that has to be addressed. And our tax collections right now are running about $4 trillion a year, but we're spending $6 billion. The math doesn't work, and it's going to have to be addressed. It's a mathematical certainty. We're going to run into trouble with that. Another thing, Harris said I saw a clip on Twitter, she's going to raise business taxes. Okay, we're going to make them pay. The problem is businesses don't pay taxes. They collect taxes. It's a cost of doing business. So when you tax business, you tax the little people. You tax the people that go to work every day, because those taxes and those costs are added into the cost of the final product. We have to bear that burden. So that's just saying, she might as well come out and say, I'm going to raise your taxes. She said she's going to go after estate taxes, things like that. That tampers with the ability of people to transfer wealth to their children. And one other thing to consider, if she does prevail, hopefully not, but if she wins, expect China within 2 to 4 weeks to make a move in Taiwan after the election, not after the inauguration. And if you think you have financial problems now, let that happen, because the CIA doesn't want those chip fab plants falling into the hands of the Chinese government. That will be catastrophic. So I'd just like to hear you taking some of those.
Well, Jude, let me ask you this. Okay, I can name any product. Let me just, because I'm on a, basically now I'm a type 2 diabetic, Jude, so they got me on a diet. So I really got to lay off the cheeseburgers. I love cheeseburgers. I mean it. I love Whoppers with cheese. I love the Wendy's Classic with cheese. I love the Big Mac, extra sauce, but let that go. So let's say you make cheeseburgers. Okay. You're a little, you're a nice little restaurant. You're and you sell cheeseburgers, fries, and shakes. Kamala Harris now imposes massive crushing taxes on you. You can't afford to pay these taxes. It's your profit margin. You're working for free. So what are you going to do, Jude? You've now got, these taxes now. She's raising taxes. What are you possibly going to do? Either you go under or you work for free. Well, you're not going to work for free and you don't want to go under. So what would you do, Jude, if you were selling cheeseburgers?
Yeah. The only way to survive is you have to raise prices.
Bingo. See? Bingo. See what I mean? You have more common sense. I'm serious. Okay? Than this woman who's the vice president of the United States and was a senator from California and now is the presidential nominee. It's just common sense. So you got to raise the price of cheese, of your burger, of the meat, of your fries, of your shakes, of everything. So in the end, who's really going to pay your taxes? It's not you. It's me. Maybe more before than now because they got me on a diet, but you know what I'm saying. So it's, customers, consumers like me and people in the audience. And that's what we're going to get under a Kamala Harris regime. Prices are going to go way up because taxes are going to go way up. And businesses always pass on or offload their taxes to their customers. Not because they're nasty, ugly people. Because if they don't, they go under. That's their profit margin. It's gone. So, see, that's what a businessman like Trump understands. A communist like Kamala or Tim Walz, not so much. Jude, thank you very much for that call. Now, and furthermore, the Federal Reserve is one of the most destructive institutions we've ever created. Ron Paul, not Rand Paul, but Ron Paul, his father, absolutely brilliant on this. Notice, why can we borrow so much money? Because the Fed just keeps printing more of it. What do you think has caused all this inflation? It's the massive deficits, the massive debt, and then they just print and print and print and print. And that's why we've lost the purchasing power of our dollar. And that's what's slowly impoverishing and destroying our country. And look, you're right. It's simple mathematics. You're taking in $4 trillion in taxes. By the way, it's the most we've ever taken in. So we don't have a revenue problem. There's more money coming into the coffers of the federal government now than in any other time in the history of the United States. But we're spending $6 trillion. That's $2 trillion deficits every single year. So let's leave out $4 trillion and $6 trillion because that's such a massive amount of money. People can't wrap their mind around it. Here, let me ask you, okay? You and your wife, you guys work like dogs. You make $400,000 a year. You scrape every dollar you can and you take in $400,000 a year. But you're spending $600,000 a year. And your overall debt, because our national debt is 37 trillion. So your overall debt on your house or your properties is $3.7 million. So you got a crushing debt. You've taken in 400, but you're spending 600 every year. Every year. 200,000 in the red. And then the next year, 200,000 in the red. And then the next year, $200,000 in the red. Now, in the short term, how do you get by? Well, I put it on my credit card. I make the minimum payments. Then there's interest on the credit cards. Then I go to the bank. I borrow money from the bank, but then there's interest on that. Now, okay, maybe you can swing it for a year or two, but year after year after year after year, what do you think is going to happen to you and your family? It doesn't take a rocket scientist. You don't have to have an economics degree from Harvard to figure this thing out. The whole thing's going to go kaput. You're going to go broke. You're going to go bankrupt. Honey, this is not sustainable. If we take in 400, we can spend 400. That's it. Frankly, I'd like to take in 400 and spend 300. Why? So I have an extra 100,000 to start paying off the debt on the house, sweetheart. Because we're never going to swim our way out of this debt. But okay, forget that. You take in 400,000, spend 400,000. Now, that's how I run my home. I'm sure that's how you run your home. Whatever you take in, 50,000, 100,000, whatever the figure is, I don't care, 80,000, 150,000, whatever your combined income is, that's what we take in, that's what we spend. Oh, well, we can't afford a vacation. That's too bad. This year we don't go on vacation. Oh, we can't go out to eat. Too bad. We can't go out to eat. Oh, I used to buy steaks. I can't afford steaks. Too bad. We don't eat steak. Not the federal government. Not these crooked, corrupt politicians in Washington. Not Joe Biden. Not Kamala. They spend, and they spend, and then they spend some more. And you want us to have you run our country? You wouldn't run your house like this. Why would you allow to run a country like this? So, and then you have these idiot liberals. Oh, you're so doom and gloom. This is, oh my God, the sky is falling. Well, it's a mathematical certainty. We're going to go bankrupt. Every economist says it. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. That's why Trump is saying, if we don't unleash massive economic growth, in other words, bring in a lot more money, we can't just make 400,000. We got to start making 1 million and start tightening our belt, fiscal responsibility. If we don't do both things, we're going to go broke as a country. We're going to go under. And he says, as a patriot, as an American who loves this country, I don't want that to happen. And according to the idiots in the media, he's the crazy one. He's the extremist. So the guy that's saying we got to get our fiscal house in order and we got to really grow and boom, the economy's got to boom. And we've got to unleash energy production, deregulate the economy, slash taxes, encourage private investment, encourage investment into our country. Manufacturing, bring those jobs back. The supply chains, Trump was brilliant on that yesterday. Bring all the supply chains back. Bring the jobs back here. Why? Because then more jobs, more taxes. Hello? People spend more money. Hello? The economy grows. Hello? 617-266-6868. Tom in Ohio. Thanks for holding, Tom, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Tom.
Trump needs to continue to hammer on the contrast between what life was like during his administration and then also, juxtapose that against Harris. I would be less about Biden, like you said. I wouldn't mention him. I would just continue to hammer her. And the other thing that I would also do, Jeff, if I'm him, I know there's people listening to your show, I would also go back and say, these are the things that I tried to implement in my first term, i.e., most of you people that are standing in this audience work for a private company. Company falls on hard times or the company's got to tighten their belt. They have to maybe rationalize and get rid of people. I tried to get, to go to these cabinet people and have them cut 2, 3, 4, 5% of the workforce. you would have thought that it was still that I was asking for them to blow the place up. He also needs to say, when I get elected, you need to help me down ballot. And here's why. Because you're going to have people like Jamie Raskin that are going to try to prevent him with Section 3 of the 14th Amendment to keep him out because he's an insurrectionist. So the down ballot is also very, very important.
I'm with you all the way, Tom. All the way. And look, he's going to need all the help he's going to get from us. All the help that we can give him. He's going to need help because if he doesn't have control of Congress, they're not going to allow him to even be inaugurated. Jamie Raskin, the Democrats have openly said it. They're going to prevent him on January 6th. Yes, January 6th, 2025. They are going to declare that he's an insurrectionist, and they're going to block him from having the votes, the Electoral College, ratifying him and his victory. And so, in other words, they're going to have the ultimate insurrection to stop Trump. So he's got to, at a minimum, he's got to retain control of the House, at a bare minimum. Frankly, he should win the House and the Senate so he can implement his entire agenda. So, and Tom, I completely agree with you. Biden is now irrelevant. Forget Biden. I wouldn't even mention his name once if I were Trump. Your rival, your opponent is now Kamala Harris. All of your fire, train all of your heavy artillery, all of your guns on her. Attacker, exposer, exposer. And just keep comparing and contrasting your 4 years to their 4 years. What you want to do for the country, what she wants to do for the country. And I think if he does that, he's invincible. He's unstoppable. And that's what was so, to me, impressive about yesterday's speech. It was almost practically a perfect stump speech. And all he's got to do now is have the discipline to repeat it over and over and over and over again. Tom, thank you very much for that call. John in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, John, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, John.
Profound stuff this morning. That was an incredible point that Tom just made. I've been listening to you for 10 years. I have called you in the past, but, not recently. And this particular call from Dane, who was 71, who lost his home, and that was an amazing point, and it made me call this morning because there's a very important thing I want to get to. It's really a question. We need to get down to the root causes of what's going on behind all of this. And Tom just mentioned Jamie Raskin. I was going to mention him also, but he's kind of the third name. The first two are Obama and Soros. My question is this. Why is it that we can't arrest these two guys? Why are we not doing anything to get a hold of them and stop them from what's going on behind the scene? And another question that goes along with that is, why is it that we were able to get John Gotti, if you remember how we got him? We ended up surveilling his little club, and we actually caught him talking about murder. And they were...
John, can you hang on? Look, John is asking the $64,000 question. John, please hang on. I want you to finish what your question is, and then talk about it with you and the entire audience. All of your calls, don't touch that dial. 919 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, let's go right back to John in the great state of New Hampshire. John, please, we had to get cut off because of the hard break. Please pick up where you left off.
Thanks again for what you do, because it's every day. It's amazing. I listen to your show all the time. Behind all of this stuff is Obama and Soros, and we've all talked about this for literally years now. The question is, why can't we arrest them for treason, basically. I mean, Soros, I don't think he's even an American citizen, but Obama, I mean, this guy is behind a lot of this stuff. I believe he was behind the Afghanistan withdrawal also. I mean, there's just amazing crimes. You're talking about billions of dollars that have been stolen. He's building mansions all over the place. Why is this guy able to get away with this? I mean, we arrested John Gotti in the 80s. We literally were able to surveil his club and catch him talking about murder, and they arrested him. And he went to prison for the rest of his life. So, I mean, why can't we do this? This is very, very important to the country right now.
No, John, you're asking the $64,000 question. And the answer is, why did we get Gotti, and why have we not been able to get Obama? Even though, I'll be honest with you, I think Obama is a much bigger criminal than John Gotti. I don't think it's even close. Not that Gotti wasn't a gangster and a murderer, but Obama is, to me, a war criminal and a traitor. So he's a much worse criminal, a much bigger criminal than John Gotti ever was. The difference was Giuliani. You had someone at the time in New York who had the guts, the backbone, the courage, the willingness, despite all the threats, all the intimidation, all the bullying, they threatened his life repeatedly. And Giuliani said, I don't care. I'm going to get him. I'm going to get him because he's a cancer on New York. And I'm going to get the mob, and I'm going to finally break the back of the mob. And that's what Giuliani did. The law is only as good as the people who are willing to apply and enforce it. The problem with Obama is not that we don't have the evidence. You mentioned Afghanistan, and there's so much more. He spied on President Trump. He ordered the illegal spying on President Trump when first he was a candidate in 2016, and then when he was officially inaugurated and became president of the United States. They illegally spied and surveilled the president. And then they illegally framed him as an agent of Russia, knowing that it was a complete lie, in order to destroy and cripple his presidency. Now, those are multiple of the most serious crimes you can possibly commit. Now, everybody knows that. Yet nobody has the guts. Nobody's the modern day equivalent of a Giuliani, Rudy Giuliani, who is willing to go after someone like Barack Hussein Obama. And look, let me tell you, John, I remember growing up. You can say whatever you want about Ronald Reagan, but he was tough as nails. Richard Nixon, he was tough as nails. Barry Goldwater, tough as nails. I remember there were some... Lee Atwater, people don't know this name, but he was the one that helped run and win both the Reagan campaigns and the Bush campaign of 1988. Lee Atwater was one of the most brilliant campaign managers you could ever find. He was one tough SOB. He did whatever it took to win. He didn't care about people's feelings. He didn't care how he was viewed. He didn't want to be liked by the media. He was a patriot who put the interests of the country first. There's no Lee Atwater. There's no one like him. There's no Reagan. There's no Nixon. I mean, forget Watergate. I'm just saying, just in general. Nixon, look, people don't know this about Nixon. Nixon and McCarthy together uncovered massive Soviet espionage in the in the FDR, in the Roosevelt-Truman administrations. I'm talking about Soviet penetration of the highest levels of our government. Nixon was reviled for what he did. The media, the left, the Democrats never forgave him. That's why they hated the guy. And obviously the same goes with McCarthy. So what I'm trying to say is there were men then. There were warriors then. There were patriots then. Look who we have today. Look at meager Mike Johnson. The guy's a joke. Look at the guy before him, Kevin Rhino McCarthy. Just look at the people. Mitch the Squish McConnell. Mittens. Mitt Romney. I mean, I could just go on and on and on. With Republicans like that, no one's indicting anybody. Forget Barack Obama. They're not going after anybody. So this is the big advantage the Democrats have. No, really, it's a line that Newt Gingrich has said. It's become quite famous because it's true. Democrats play smash mouth football. Republicans play badminton. And I'm not trying to insult people who play badminton. I'm not, really. But a guy that plays badminton is not the same guy that's willing to go in the trenches like they do in, NFL football and punch you right in the mouth. The Democrats are willing to get into the gutter. Look, just to give the devil his due, look what they did to Joe Biden. Only the Democrats would do that. They overthrew their own guy in an illegal coup. They disenfranchised their own voters. Can you imagine if Republicans even thought? Can you imagine the discussion around the table? Well, hold on. Our guy got 14 million votes in the primary. We're going to overturn the will of the people? No way. No way. These Democrats, they don't care. The hell with 14 million voters and disenfranchising them. It's about winning. But, Joe Biden he's the president. He's the nominee. Who cares? Throw him overboard. Put in Kamala. We can sell her. We can't sell him. Next. Republicans don't think like that. Republicans don't talk like that. Republicans don't behave like that. And that's why Trump always is shaking his head. Like, I use a few swear words because they're so dirty and corrupt, and my side is attacking me. Well, how are you going to beat these gangsters? You can't even swear at them. All these people do is steal and cheat. 932 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, liberalism's worst nightmare. Okay, so very quickly, talking about media lies, media propaganda, as the Russians like to say. They're going on about this new report that inflation has gone up 2.9%. This was yesterday, and it finally fell under 3%. And they're acting like, I don't know what, this is some kind of an incredible economic victory for the American people. The media is giving each other high fives. They're popping champagne corks. Biden is taking a victory lap. Inflation has been beaten. We've beaten inflation. Okay. Listen now to J.D. Vance. And media heads were exploding when J.D. said, what are you all celebrating about? The inflation has damaged the American middle class and the working class. It has led to very high prices across the board. And it's not like it's going down. It's still going up. It's just not going up as fast as it was, say, a couple years ago. Well, it doesn't matter. Life is still getting a hell of a lot more expensive. So what are you all celebrating? Listen now to JD. Roll cut 10, Mike.
When they say that inflation is down, they mean from a baseline where groceries are already 30% more expensive than they were when Donald Trump was president. And they're not saying it's coming down. They're just saying it's not going up as fast as it was 3 years ago. That is not a reputation or a record to brag on. That's a record to be ashamed of. Why did it take them so long to get inflation to where it is? And why are prices so high? It's because Kamala Harris failed to do her job. So if they want to go around, and this is, it's funny. Kamala Harris, on the one hand, will say, on day one, we're going to tackle the affordability crisis. And like I said earlier, Kamala Harris has been the vice president for 3.5 years. And I think, ladies and gentlemen, she's in effect been the acting president because we all know Joe Biden isn't home. So she's been the one controlling government policy for 3.5 years. She says she wants to tackle the affordability crisis on day one. And then on the other hand, she'll say, oh, we've already got inflation under control. Well, which is it, Kamala? Which is it?
Exactly. He hit the nail right on the head. Honestly, I couldn't have said it better myself. So what is it? Either have you tamed inflation or have you not tamed inflation? If you've tamed inflation, then there's no affordability crisis. So we don't need your ridiculous economic plan tomorrow. If you haven't, well, that's because you and Biden failed the country. You had you caused the inflation. It's because of you that prices for gas and food and groceries and energy bills and utility bills and rent and homes, everything went up under your watch, 30, 40, 50, 60%. Now you create the problem, and now you're trying to offer yourself as the solution? I don't think so. But you see, they don't know. Either there isn't a problem or there is a problem. So there is no more inflation then, right? No, there is inflation. Okay, well, if there's inflation, then I'm sorry, you own it. Like, which is it? That's the fundamental conundrum of this entire race for them. That's why Kamala's going to go down. If all Trump, see, this is the race in a nutshell. What the Democrats want to do is they want to turn this into a personality contest between chameleon Kamala and the evil orange man. That's what they want. In other words, it's just a celebrity. It's a popularity contest. Who do you like better, the cackler or the evil orange guy? That's what they want to turn this race into. It's about style versus substance. Who's more likable? Who's more hip? Who's more cool? Who has more celebrity endorsements? Who does Hollywood like more? Who's more trendy? Kamala, it's her moment. These are vibes. This is a vibe election, as the New York Times put it. And she's got good vibes, really good vibes. Joyful, fun, happy. It's like a party atmosphere. But if it's a referendum on the Biden-Harris regime and on their record and on their policies and how they have driven this country into the ground, then Trump wins in a landslide. And that's why last night's speech was so molto importante. It was so important because what Trump was doing clearly was saying this is a referendum on Kamala, on Biden, on their inflation, on their border, on everything they have done to our country. And I can fix it. Why? Because I did it already. Last night's speech is the winning formula. If Trump keeps hammering it again and again and again, it's over. Good night, Irene. Ed in Maryland. Thanks for holding, Ed, and welcome.
Morning, Jeff.
Hi, Ed.
Yes. So look, I'm going to level with you. I'm down for playing my part in the information war, and I believe in red pilling normies and all that good stuff, trying to talk to people, reach out, all that. But quite honestly, you know, I hear, not yourself necessarily, but I hear commentators and other people, streamers, saying things about if this is a free and fair election and all this other stuff. It's already not a free and fair election because of the level of election interference that they've leveled against Donald Trump and the Republicans. So, like a lot of other things in our culture, this has been cheapened. This is not an election. This is a ballot collection operation. That's all it is. Pure and simple. And we already know that the Democrats, they don't give a darn where they get the ballots from. If they're legitimate ballots, if it's a ballot for your cat or your turtle, or they don't care if these illegals are alive or dead or whatever. They need their names. They need their social security numbers. That's all they need. They could care less if they live or die or whatever. So that's all it is. So I hope we have the lawyers in place and we can fight this, because that's all this is. He's not up against Kamala Harris. She's a joke, and everybody knows it.
Well, he's up against the Democrat machine, the system, as Elon Musk put it yesterday. And you're completely right. No, look, Ed, what you're seeing now, you're very perceptive. You're dead on. No, everybody knows what's happening. The Democrats are going to cheat. They're already cheating. Already. You're right. They've rigged this election. They're interfering in this election. They're trying to put Trump behind bars. In fact, I think he probably will be put behind bars. We'll see on in a couple of weeks with Judge Merchan. So they're going to do everything possible to undermine and really cripple Trump's chances of winning. What we're seeing now is the battle for public perception. And what I mean by that, Ed, is they're trying to make it seem plausible that Kamala Harris won the election fair and square. That's what the media is trying to do now. That's why they're pushing all these ridiculous polls. That's why they're selling her like she's some kind of a product or a commodity. That's why they're worshiping her. That's why Time magazine has her on a cover. That's why the media is fawning all over her. That's why they're deliberately hiding her. They don't want her to speak to the media. And the media doesn't want her to speak to the media. Because if she opens her mouth, everyone's going to say, no way could that idiot be elected. So this is all about shaping the public's perception of what happens on November 5th. And if they can shape it to the point that they go, yeah, maybe she won, they think they can get away with the steal. And that's why we have to destroy that perception. If you've noticed, that's what I'm doing day after day after day. I'm exposing her record, Tim Walz, his record. And if they steal it on November 5th, if they go out and actually steal the election, then, Ed, I'm telling you, this country is finished. The republic is over. And we're going to see massive protests on the streets. And what happens after that, I don't know. But that's where we are. Final word to you, Ed.
Well, the other thing to keep an eye out for is I know someone, yourself and someone else that spoke about from here in Maryland, Representative Rash.
Ed, can you hang on? Guys, you know what? These breaks are killing me. I'm just saying. You know what I mean? It's just, can we have a little flexibility with these breaks? Seriously. Ed, can you hang on? I'm going to come right back to Ed. More with your calls next. 9:50 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868. Let's go right back to Ed in the great state of Maryland. Ed, you're saying you're very worried about the election. You fear the Democrats are going to steal it. That, in fact, in many ways, the steal and the rigging of the election is already on. It's not even free and fair, and we're still 3 months out. Please, Ed, pick up where you left off.
I'm sure you could probably find a clip. There's Raskin, Jamie Raskin, on a stream somewhere a few days ago talking about how they're going to disqualify Trump using the 14th Amendment if he were to achieve electoral victory, which more than likely he will. My concern is that they're not going to certify the election. So I'm be curious to hear what you have to say about that. And,
Ed, I mean, I know you can't listen to 4 hours every day, but we played that cut, I think, a couple days ago, right? I think, if I'm not mistaken. So I know exactly the cut that you're talking about. No, he let the cat out of the bag. He said the quiet part out loud. We're not going to let Trump come back into power. And to me, what was amazing was how open he was about it. Even if he wins the popular vote, even if he wins the Electoral College, he goes, even if he wins it fair and square, he goes, no, he legitimately wins the election. We don't care. We're going to invoke the insurrection clause of the 14th Amendment, and we're going to block him on January 6th. And we're not going to certify the vote. So in other words, everything they're claiming that Trump did that was so awful and wrong and illegitimate, the insurrection, they're literally going to do to Trump now. And the catch is, yes, the president is inaugurated, I believe, the 20th or the 21st of January. But the House, if the November elections go the way the Democrats want, they get sworn in on January 4th.
What can be put into the Constitution can slip away from you very quickly. And the greatest example going on right now before our very eyes is Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, which they're just disappearing with a magic wand, as if it doesn't exist, even though it could not be clearer what it's stating. And so, they want to kick it to Congress, so it's going to be up to us on January 6, 2025 to tell the rampaging Trump mobs that he's disqualified. And then we need bodyguards for everybody in civil war conditions, all because the 9 justices, not all of them, but these justices who have not many cases to look at every year, not that much work to do, a huge staff, great protection, simply do not want to do their job and interpret what the great 14th Amendment means. And I'm glad that Sherilyn's creating her new center so we can bring that.
So anyway, he's talking about a woman that's created a think tank just devoted to preventing Trump from coming to power. But Ed, I mean, there it is. And he's even saying, look, we're willing to risk a civil war. Everybody's got to get a bodyguard. In other words, get a gun or get somebody with a gun, because we're willing to take this thing all the way to the end, even if it means out and out political violence. So, Ed, I got to ask you, since you're calling from Maryland, how does that nutbag, really a whack job, like a guy like Jamie Raskin, who fantasizes about civil wars and, killing MAGA and, preventing a duly elected president from being seated, how does a guy like him get elected? No, really. Can you explain this guy to the rest of the country?
Sure. It's leftist, think they're liberal, white ladies. Like J.D. Vance said, most of them are probably childless. I mean, you can see the gleam in their eye, the look, and you can tell. You can see the mental illness from a block away. I mean, it's not hard to tell.
So he really comes from a crazy moonbat district. Is that what it is? So the crazier he is, the more they love him. Is that what it is?
I don't know. Those rural parts of Maryland where I'm sure you experienced the same thing in Massachusetts, rural parts of Maryland that are beautiful and are country, and you wouldn't even know that you're in Maryland. And there's people out there that are salt of the earth, great people of all different types, and, that don't buy into any of this nonsense.
Well, Ed, look, it's a wake-up call. Look, you're telling everybody, and I agree with you, be ready. Be ready. Because the Democrats now, you put up Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, this kind of an openly communist ticket, you're planning to cheat and you're planning to steal. And you've got Raskin now and the House Democrats saying, we take back the House, we're going to block Trump. So even if he wins the election, we're going to block him from being installed. And if that leads to a civil war, too bad. So you tell me, who are the real political terrorists? Who are the real insurrectionists? Who are the real threats to democracy? It's not us. It's them. This November, vote like your life depends on it. Because in some ways, it does. All right, to the callers, phenomenal job today. You're always good. But today it was A++. I'm out of time. I gotta go. Bye-bye.